I was sprawled on the cold tile floor of my Seattle apartment, my vision blurring as pain shot through my side. When my sister called, not to check on me, but to demand I sign over the family cabin before it was too late. Oh man, my heart was pounding like a drum in a rock concert.
Derek, help. I think
but
I'm
not
having an
from
attack.
excitement, from sheer terror mixed with that sinking
Please, call the
realization
hospital for me.
that the people who should have your back are the ones stabbing it. I remember clutching my phone,
I
my
crawled to the
fingers
door,
slippery with sweat,
but no one came.
staring at the screen as her name flashed.
Help
Answer,
me!
I whispered to myself,
Please, someone!
but no, it wasn't me calling her. She was calling me, right in the middle of my crisis. But let's back up just a sec, because this story, it's got layers, y'all. Like an onion that'll make you cry, but in the end, feel that sweet justice. Hey, if you're new here or just popping in, hit that like button if you're already hooked, and subscribe for more of these real talk drama tales where betrayal gets its comeback. All right, let's dive in. Let me paint the picture for you. My name's Mia Caldwell, and I've always been the glue holding my family together. Born and raised in the rainy vibes of Seattle, Washington, where the coffee's strong and the skies are gray. But hey, it builds character. I was the middle kid, sandwiched between my older brother, Derek Hayes, and my younger sister, Lena Voss. Yeah, different last names. Mom remarried after Dad passed. But we stuck close, or so I thought. Growing up, I was the one who stepped up. When Mom got sick with that long battle against cancer back in our 20s, I was the one quitting my job at the tech startup to care for her full-time. Derek was off chasing his dreams in real estate down in Portland. Always too busy closing deals. Lena? She was finding herself in art school in San Francisco, painting abstracts that looked like toddler scribbles but cost a fortune, apparently. Me, I handled the doctor's appointments. The late-night worries, the bills piling up like autumn leaves. After Mom passed 5 years ago, she left us the family cabin up in the Cascade. Mountains, a cozy little spot with pine trees whispering secrets, and a lake that sparkled like diamonds on sunny days. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. Worth a pretty penny now with all the Seattle folks wanting weekend getaways. Mom's will split it 3 ways. But I was named executor because, well, I was the reliable one. But the betrayal? It started subtle, like a drizzle turning into a storm. Derek would call every few months, always with that fake cheer in his voice. Like, hey sis, how's the cabin holding up? You keeping it maintained? I'd feel this twinge in my gut, but I'd brush it off. Sending him photos of the fresh paint job I'd done myself or the new roof I'd paid for out of pocket. Lena was worse. She'd text memes or complain about her latest breakup. But when I mentioned feeling run down, like my joints aching from all the stress, she'd ghost me for weeks. Last year, things escalated. I started noticing weird charges on the joint account we'd set up for cabin upkeep stuff, like fancy dinners in Portland, art supplies shipped to SF. When I confronted Derek over the phone, his voice got all defensive, sharp like a knife edge. Mia, come on, it's family money. I needed a little boost for a deal. You'll get it back. His tone dripped with entitlement, like I was the one being unreasonable. My chest tightened, but I let it slide, wiring more from my savings because that's what I do, fix things. Lena, she hit me up for loans that never got repaid. Sis, just this once, my gallery show's tanking, she'd whine, her voice cracking with fake tears. I'd transfer the cash, then lie awake at night in my tiny apartment overlooking Puget Sound, wondering why I was always the giver. My friends would say, Mia, you're too nice, but deep down, I felt this simmering resentment, like steam building in a kettle. Then came the health stuff. I'd been feeling off for months, dizzy spells, sharp pains in my abdomen. Doctors ran tests, but nothing conclusive. Stress, they said. Take it easy. Easy? With siblings who treated me like an ATM? I confided in them during a rare family Zoom call. Guys, I'm scared. What if it's serious? Derek laughed it off. You're fine. Drama queen. Lena changed the subject to her new boyfriend. That hurt, y'all, cut deep like a paper slice that stings for days. Little did I know the real storm was brewing. I'd catch whispers on calls. Derek mentioning appraisals for the cabin. Lena giggling about finally getting what's ours. But I pushed it down, telling myself it was paranoia. Until that fateful day, I was in my kitchen, chopping veggies for a solo dinner, because who else was going to cook for me? When the pain hit like a freight train. It started as a cramp, then exploded into agony, dropping me to the floor. My phone skittered across the tiles. Gasping, I dialed Derek first. Ring, voicemail. Derek? Help. I think I'm having an attack. Then Lena. Straight to voicemail. I left messages, my voice weak, tears streaming. Please, call 911 for me? Minutes felt like hours. I crawled to the door, but no one came. Finally, a neighbor heard my cries and called emergency services. As they loaded me into the ambulance, my phone buzzed, not with concern, but a text from Lena. Hey, about the cabin deed, can you sign it over? Derek says it's urgent. That text, it was the first crack in my world. Lying there in the ER, tubes in my arms, I stared at it, feeling betrayal seep in like cold rain through a cracked window. Diagnosis, acute pancreatitis, triggered by stress and maybe something more. But the real pain? Knowing my own blood ignored me when I needed them most. As I lay in that hospital bed, the beeps of machines mocking my loneliness. Memories flooded. Back like waves crashing on Alki Beach. Let's spill more tea on how we got here. Derek wasn't always the greedy type, or maybe he was, and I was blind. Back in high school, he'd borrow my allowance for dates, promising payback that never came. As adults, it amplified. After Mom's death, he pushed for selling the cabin immediately. Mia, think of the cash, he'd say, his eyes lighting up like slot machines. I'd refuse, holding on to it as Mom's legacy. His sighs were heavy with frustration, like I was the obstacle. Lena, she was the emotional vampire. Always dramatic, always needing rescue. Last Christmas, I flew her up to Seattle on my dime. Because holidays are hard without Mom. We spent the day at Pike Place Market, tossing fish and sipping lattes. But she spent the whole time on her phone, ignoring my attempts at bonding. When I mentioned my health worries, she rolled her eyes. Everyone's stressed, Mia, get over it. Dialogue with them felt like pulling teeth. Take that Zoom call. So, the cabin's appreciating, Derek started, his voice smooth as butter. We should appraise it. I felt my stomach knot. Why now? I asked, trying to keep calm. Lena chimed in, her tone whiny. Because I need my share for my studio. Life's expensive, sis. Their words carried no warmth, just calculation. My heart ached with the unspoken. Where were they when I needed emotional support? The buildup was slow, but the indifference? It chipped away at me. I'd send group texts about my doctor visits. Biopsy results tomorrow, nervous. Crickets. Then bam, Derek's message, hey, send the cabin keys? Got a buyer interested. The audacity burned. In the hospital, as nurses poked and prodded, I replayed it all. The pain meds dulled the physical hurt, but the emotional? It raged. Why me? Why always the one left holding the bag? That's when the breaking point loomed. The hospital discharge was a blur. Papers signed. Meds in hand, but no family to pick me up. I Ubered home to my empty apartment. The Seattle rain pattering against the window like tears I couldn't shed anymore. That's when it hit. The breaking point. That moment where the dam cracks and everything floods out. I collapsed on my couch, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of years of unfairness pressed down. My phone lit up with missed calls. Not from them, but bill collectors for the cabin maintenance I'd covered. Then Lena's voice message. Mia, seriously, the deed? Derek's freaking out. No, how are you? No concern. Just demands. I cried then, ugly sobs that shook my body. Why? I whispered to the empty room. The pain from my pancreatitis flared. A reminder of how my body had betrayed me too, fed by the stress they'd piled on. But in that low, something shifted. A spark of anger, hot and fierce. I started digging. Logged into the joint account, more unauthorized withdrawals. Emails from Derek to a lawyer about contesting. The will if Mia doesn't cooperate. My blood boiled. The breaking point? Realizing their neglect wasn't accidental. It was strategic. They saw me as the weak link, the one they'd squeeze until I broke. Sudden drama hit when I called them. What the hell? I said to Derek, my voice trembling but strong. He stammered, Mia, you're overreacting. Lena joined, her tone accusatory. You've always hoarded the cabin. Their words stung, full of gaslighting emotion, making me doubt myself. But no more. That call ended with me hanging up, heart racing, ready for the truth. Okay, y'all, buckle up because this is where the story takes that wild turn. The kind that makes your jaw drop and your heart race all at once. I was still recovering from that hospital stint, propped up in my Seattle apartment with its foggy windows overlooking the bustling streets below, the kind where ferries honk in the distance and the smell of fresh rain mixes with coffee from the corner shop. My body was mending, slowly, painfully, but my mind? It was a whirlwind, spinning with questions I couldn't ignore anymore. That text from Lena, demanding the cabin deed while I was literally fighting for breath on the floor. It wasn't just rude. It felt like a clue, a thread I had to pull. I started small, Nothing dramatic at first. I was sipping herbal tea, doctor's orders, no caffeine to aggravate the pancreatitis, staring at my laptop screen, in the dim light of my living room. The apartment was cozy but cluttered. Books on every shelf from my days dreaming of being a writer before life got in the way. I'd always been the organizer, the one with files for everything. So I logged into the family email account we'd shared since Mom's illness. It was supposed to be for medical updates, but Derek had turned it into his personal business hub. As I scrolled through the inbox, my fingers trembling a bit from the meds, I felt this eerie calm wash over me, like the quiet before a Pacific Northwest storm. At first, it was innocent stuff, bills for the cabin's utilities, which I'd paid, of course. But then, buried in a folder labeled investments, I found emails between Derek and some real estate shark in Portland. The property's prime, Derek wrote, attaching photos I'd sent him of the cabin, sister's dragging her feet. But health issues might speed things up. Health issues? My health issues? My stomach twisted, not from pain this time, but from that sinking betrayal. I read on, my breath catching. If we can prove incompetence, we can petition the court. Lena's on board? Incompetence? They were planning to declare me unfit? I leaned back against the cushions, the soft fabric doing nothing to cushion the blow. Tears pricked my eyes, hot and angry. How long had this been going on? I thought back to family dinners in our old house in Tacoma before we scattered. Mom at the head of the table, dishing out her famous peach cobbler. Derek always grabbing the biggest piece. Lena batting her eyelashes for seconds. I'd laugh it off, but now it felt like foreshadowing. They'd always taken and I'd always given. But this was calculated. Pushing through the fog of hurt, I decided I needed more. Hiring a private investigator felt like something out of a thriller novel. But desperation makes you bold. I found one online, a grizzled guy named Frank with a no-nonsense website promising discretion. We met at a quiet cafe in Capitol Hill, the kind with exposed brick walls and baristas who know your order by heart. I slid into the booth, my hoodie pulled low, feeling like a spy. I think my siblings are plotting against me, I whispered, handing him a folder with printouts. His eyes narrowed, but he nodded. Family stuff's the worst, he grumbled, his voice rough like gravel. I'll dig. Days turned into weeks. The Seattle spring bringing cherry blossoms that mocked my inner turmoil. I'd pace my apartment, the wooden floors creaking under my feet, replaying memories. Like the time Derek forgot to invite me to his wedding, said it was a small affair, but photos on social media showed a lavish event at a vineyard. Or Lena borrowing my car and returning it with a dent, blaming bad luck. Little things that added up to a pattern. My phone would buzz with texts from them, casual, like nothing happened. Hey sis, how's recovery? Lena wrote once, followed by a heart emoji. I replied curtly, but inside I was seething. Then Frank called. Meet me at the park, he said, his tone urgent. We sat on a bench overlooking Elliott Bay, seagulls screeching overhead, the salty air whipping my hair. He handed me a manila envelope, thick with papers. You were right, he said, lighting a cigarette despite the no-smoking signs. But it's worse than you thought. My hand shook as I opened it. Photos first. Derek and Lena meeting in a sleek office downtown. Not in Portland or SF, but right here in Seattle. They were laughing, clinking coffee cups, papers spread out. Zoomed-in shots showed documents. Appraisals for the cabin, way higher than I'd known. Then emails hacked? No. Frank said he got them legally through public records and some clever subpoena work. They're contesting the will, he explained. Claiming Mom was coerced into naming you executor. Forged signatures, they say. But the shock factor? The real gut punch came next. A lab report slipped in from a contact in forensics. That gift basket Lena sent you last month, Frank said, his eyes steady. The one with the fancy chocolates and wine. Tested positive for traces of something nasty. A compound that can trigger pancreatic issues in high-stress folks like you. I stared at him, the world tilting. Poison? I whispered, my voice barely audible over the waves crashing below. He nodded grimly. Not lethal doses, but enough to exacerbate. Make you seem unstable, maybe even push you over the edge. The revelation hit like a tsunami. I gasped, clutching the bench to steady myself. Emotions crashed over me, disbelief first, like a cold wave knocking the breath out of me. They tried to hurt me? My own brother and sister? Tears streamed down my face, mixing with the misty air. Then anger, hot and fierce, bubbling up from deep inside. Betrayal so profound it felt physical, like a knife twisting in my gut. I thought of Mom's face in her last days, weak but smiling, trusting me to keep us together. They wanted the cabin that bad? I choked out. Frank patted my shoulder awkwardly. People do crazy things for money. But you've got evidence now. Police might get involved if you push. I walked home in a daze. The city blurring around me, people rushing to work, buses rumbling by, the Space Needle piercing the sky like an accusation. In my apartment, I collapsed on the bed, staring at the ceiling fan whirring lazily. Flashbacks assaulted me. Childhood Christmases at the cabin, building snowmen with Derek, painting with Lena by the fire. How had it come to this? The shock twisted deeper, not just the plot, but the realization that their love was conditional, tied to what I could provide. But in that darkness, a spark ignited. Not revenge yet, but resolve. I wiped my tears, sat up, and started planning. The truth was out, ugly and raw, but it set me free in a way. No more pretending we were a happy family. The slow buildup of suspicion had led to this explosive reveal. And now it was time to turn the tables. As the sun set over the Sound, painting the sky in oranges and pinks, I felt a strange calm settle. The pain in my side was a dull ache, a reminder of their treachery. I picked up my phone, scrolled to their numbers, but didn't call. Instead, I drafted an email to a lawyer friend. Need help with estate planning, I typed. The discovery had shattered me, but it was rebuilding me stronger. Y'all, if you've ever been blindsided by those closest to you, you know that feeling, the shock that lingers, but also the clarity it brings. Hold on, because what came next? That's where karma starts whispering her plans. All right, spilling more tea now. This chapter's where I take the reins. Y'all, after that bombshell from Frank, I didn't explode. No screaming calls, no dramatic confrontations just yet. Nah, I went methodical, like brewing a perfect cup of Seattle's finest coffee, slow, precise, with a kick at the end. My apartment became my war room. Papers scattered across the coffee table, laptop glowing late into the night. The rain pattered against the windows, a soothing soundtrack to my scheming. I was still weak from the pancreatitis flare-up, popping pills and sipping broth. But my mind? Sharp as a tack. First things first, protect myself. I called my lawyer, Eliza, a fierce woman I'd met through Mom's estate dealings. We met at her office in Belltown, the high-rise views of the city making me feel small but determined. They poisoned me? She echoed, her eyes widening over her glasses. I nodded, sliding the envelope across her desk. She flipped through it, her expression hardening. This is fraud, attempted harm. We can build a case. But start with the will. We spent hours revising Mom's trust. The cabin? I put it in an irrevocable trust, beneficiary not me, not them, but a local conservation group that protected Cascade Wilderness. Mom would have loved that. She always hiked those trails, teaching us about nature's balance. Karma, I murmured as I signed. Eliza raised an eyebrow. More like justice. I felt a twinge of satisfaction, imagining Derek's face when he learned his prime property was untouchable. But that was just the appetizer. Next, I gathered more evidence. Frank kept digging, sending updates via encrypted email. Turns out, Derek had been siphoning funds not just from the joint account, but from Mom's old investments, small amounts over years, adding up to tens of thousands. Lena? She'd forged my signature on a loan application, using the cabin as collateral. My blood boiled reading that, but I channeled it. I reported the fraud anonymously to the IRS. Let the feds handle the tax evasion angle. Slow burn, y'all. Meanwhile, life went on. I'd text Derek and Lena back, keeping it light. Feeling better, I'd say, adding emojis to mask the rage. Lena called once, her voice bubbly. Sis, let's plan a trip to the cabin. I need a break. I gripped the phone, my knuckles white. Sure, I lied, my tone calm. Inside, I was plotting. How's your art? I asked, steering away. She rambled about a new exhibit, no questions about my health. That fueled me. I started therapy too, needed to process the betrayal. My therapist, Dr. Ruiz, in a cozy office near the university, listened as I poured out the story. It's grief, she said softly. For the family you thought you had. Sessions helped, but revenge? That was my private therapy. I documented everything, screenshots, timelines, building a dossier like a detective novel. Then the karma ramped up. Derek's big deal in Portland? I accidentally forwarded an email chain to his investor, highlighting the discrepancies. Anonymous, of course. Weeks later, he texted, "Deal fell through." "Rough luck," I replied. "Sorry to hear," but smiled in the mirror. My reflection showing a woman transformed, from doormat to director. For Lena, it was subtler. Her gallery show? I knew she was inflating sales for hype. A tip to an art critic friend exposed the fluff. Reviews turned sour, overhyped and underwhelming. She called crying. "Everything's falling apart." Her voice cracked with real emotion this time. I comforted her. "Hang in there," but hung up thinking, now you know how it feels. The buildup was deliciously slow. I'd walk along the waterfront, the cool breeze off the water clearing my head, planning next moves. Flashbacks hit. Summers at the cabin, Derek pushing me on the swing, Lena sharing secrets under the stars. It hurt, but hardened my resolve. They hadn't just betrayed me. They'd tainted Mom's memory. Sudden drama struck when the police got involved. Frank's forensics contact tipped them off about the poison. Detectives showed up at my door, badges flashing. "Miss Caldwell, we need to talk." I played shocked, handed over evidence. "I can't believe it," I said, tears genuine from the pain. They interviewed Derek and Lena separately. I imagined their panic. Derek's call came frantic. "Cops were here." "What did you tell them?" His voice shook, anger laced with fear. "Nothing," I said innocently. "Must be a mix-up." Karma escalated. Charges loomed, fraud, endangerment. Their worlds crumbled. Derek's real estate license under review. Lena's art career stalled. I watched from afar, sipping wine, non-alcoholic docs orders, feeling the sweet sting of justice. But I wasn't done. I invited them to Seattle for a family meeting. To clear the air, I texted. They agreed, greedy for resolution. As I set the table in a rented conference room, neutral ground, the anticipation built. My heart pounded, but my voice would be steady. Revenge wasn't loud. It was this, methodical, inevitable, like the tide pulling back before the wave crashes. Y'all, if betrayal breaks you, revenge rebuilds you. Hold tight. The confrontation's coming. Here we go, the climax. Y'all, the moment where all the slow simmering boils over into high stakes. Drama? I'd set the stage carefully. A neutral cafe in downtown Seattle, the kind with big windows letting in the gray light, steam rising from espresso machines, the hum of conversations masking our tension. I arrived early, heart thumping like a bass drum but exterior calm. Dressed in a simple black sweater and jeans, hair pulled back, I looked like the sister they remembered, reliable Mia. But inside, a storm ready to break. Derek showed first, striding in with that cocky real estate agent swagger, though his eyes darted nervously. "Mia," he said, hugging me stiffly. His cologne was overpowering, like he was hiding sweat. Lena trailed in minutes later, her artist vibe intact, flowy scarf. Messy bun, but her face pale, shadows under her eyes. "Hey sis," she murmured, avoiding my gaze. We sat at a corner table, ordering coffees no one would drink. I let the silence stretch, sipping my latte slowly, the bitter taste mirroring my mood. "Thanks for coming," I started, voice even. "We need to talk about the cabin. And everything." Derek leaned forward, eager. "Finally. Look, we've been patient, but it's time to sell. Split the cash fair." His tone was businesslike, but desperation edged it. Lena nodded, twisting her napkin. "Yeah, I could use my share. Life's tough." I felt the anger rise, but held it. "Patient? Like when I called from the floor, gasping in pain?" My words dropped like stones. They shifted uncomfortably. Derek cleared his throat. "We were busy, Mia, you know how it is." "Busy?" I echoed, my voice rising just a notch. "I was dying, Derek, pancreatitis attack. And you ignored me." Tears welled, but I blinked them back. Lena whispered. "We didn't know it was that bad." I pulled out the envelope, the dossier. "But you did know about this." I slid photos across, their meetings, emails. Plotting to declare me incompetent. Contesting Mom's will. Derek's face drained of color. "Where did you get that?" His voice cracked, fear raw. Lena gasped, hand to mouth. "Mia, it's not what it looks." "And the poison," I cut in, the shock bomb. "In the gift basket, Lena, traces that made me sicker." The cafe noise faded. It was just us, tension thick as fog. Lena burst into tears. "It was Derek's idea. Just to push you." Her sobs were messy, full of regret. Or panic. Derek slammed the table. "Liar, you agreed." His anger exploded, face red. You always play victim, Mia. We deserve that cabin. The confrontation peaked, voices raised, heads turning. Deserved? I stood calm amid the chaos. For ignoring Mom's care? Stealing funds? Trying to kill me? Emotions poured, hurt, rage, but triumph. The cabin's in trust now, for conservation. And the police? They have everything. Derek lunged forward but stopped, defeated. You bitch, he hissed, tears in his eyes. Lena wailed, please, sis, we're family. Family? I whispered, voice intense. Family answers the call. I left the envelope, walked out into the rain feeling cleansed. Their pleas faded behind me. The drama was sudden, raw, emotions spilling like overturned coffee. But I was free. Whew, y'all, reflecting on this now, from my cozy spot by the window watching Seattle's lights twinkle. It's like looking back on a hurricane that reshaped the landscape. I went from that humiliated girl on the floor, begging for help that never came, to this empowered woman who reclaimed her life. The betrayal cut deep, siblings. Turning vultures over a piece of wood and land, but it taught me boundaries. The kind Mom always said were key. Karma? She worked her magic, their schemes unraveling like cheap yarn. The shocking twists, the poison, the plots left scars, but also strength. Emotional justice tastes sweet, like vindication after years of giving. If this story hit home, drop a like, share your own tales in the comments, and subscribe for more where underdogs rise. Until next time, remember, answer the call or karma might just hang up on you.